if we haven't heard his side and we haven't heard the full story from the prosecutor, that's why I say I have to stay open. Some people watch the YNW Melly case, right? This is going to make a lot more sense to you if you did. They had a gang expert come on, wore a mask, covered his face, right? Because he had a $50,000 hit out on his head from testifying in some other case because he's an undercover cop who infiltrates gangs and whatnot, right? Well, this guy comes on to the stand in the YNW Melly case, wearing his mask, saying he couldn't be seen because of that, covering his face from the jury, testifying to the jury about YNW Melly. In that testimony, he's talking about the blood gang or whatever. And then he says that there is a white leader of that blood gang named Jacob Cherry. Now, Jacob Cherry is 1090 Jake, a YouTuber who does hood documentaries in true crime, like hip-hop true crime, you know? So, that guy's not a treasurer in a gang. Street gangs don't work that way. Now, criminal enterprises work that way, and those people may be in a gang, but the way the gang expert described it seems silly. And he was saying that 1090 Jake was funneling money to the blood gang. This is a person who's on YouTube making millions of dollars. Why? Right? It doesn't even make sense. It's almost laughable. These experts, they're not always perfect, right? And they're paid. They're paid really good money to come and be an expert witness. That's how you have one expert say one thing and an expert in that same exact field be called from the other side and say something completely different, because their opinions can be paid for. That's what they're there to do, to sell their opinion. Think about that. Also said that part of their alibi is going to require testimony from expert witnesses and cross-examination. So to me, that came off like they're saying that they're going to prove their alibi in trial, that they're not only going to show that the prosecutor can't prove the case, but they're going to give an alternate version of events and be able to prove their version of events by testimony of witnesses. So, you still on the train of you think Kohberger was framed?
No, you see, again, I think this is why I appreciate so much be around content creators like you, speak about hunting, harsh reality, like people that actually sit here and try to be as unbiased as possible. Like to do a lot of devil's advocate, you know, and as we speak right now, um, I'm standing still. Like I believe that it was some discrepancies within the forensic processing.
So when I'm throwing out, this could be that. This could be the defense of this. They could use this in the defense. Doesn't necessarily mean that I believe that the what I'm saying happened, but it could be a defense. And then it's like, okay, well, if you believe that he's 100% guilty and there's no chance that he's the wrong guy or not the only guy, then you have to be able to disprove his alternative version of events.
If you see it, the prosecution as well as equally the defense, the prosecution has these things that they're calling evidence, such as pings, such as alleged photos of his car. These things, they're able that the more you stack them, the more believable they become, and it also works in the defense's manner as well. The more that you can stack the disprovables of the claims, as well as stack reasonable alibi type stuff. So where we at right now, because defense does not want to give an alibi right now. They stayed silent, which I think is very good, because saying too much now is just like a prosecution not saying enough. It's like a scale. Prosecution's not saying things, whereas but they want the defense to say things. So it goes both ways.
I would love to interject with the vehicle situation. We can say that was his vehicle that have to come up in court with the prosecution having evidence that confirms that was Kohberger's vehicle, that it was used as transport. Everybody's talking about that one license plate that the vehicle has. I would like to remember everyone that he needed to change his license plates by November the 2nd. We heard that very clear in the body cam footage when he got stopped. I believe that that transaction did occur. He did change his license plates by November the 2nd, which was the deadline. So that means that the vehicle would have two license plates. The other thing that confirmed that it was when the car was stopped in Indianapolis, in Indiana, the vehicle had Washington plates. So that
Yeah.
means it had front and back license plates.
On the night of November the 13th, he hadn't renewed his plates yet. They have that in the PCA afterwards.
Okay.
I can't remember exactly where, but I remember reading it. So on that night in question, he did have one license plate.
Yeah, because
Now,
it was November the 2nd, I think the deadline, right? And I don't think he would have
I don't
just like
know.
drive with we expired license plate, which increased the possibility of getting stopped with transfer DNA if that was the case. You know, I mean, again, a lot of people make this guy be not very smart. I respect that opinion. I do respect everyone's opinion. But in this case, I believe that this guy would be responsible enough to actually um, change his license plates before the deadline, which it was November the 2nd. I don't know what was going on with the PCA as that information. Again, they'll have to bring the proof to court that actually that happened indeed. And I totally agree. We just need to have a little patience about it. But again, talking about the car situation, I think that they have to prove that it was his vehicle first,
Yep.
and then also the timeline cannot be made by cell phone data. We need to have time of death for all the victims so we could sit down there and be like, okay, so it took him this much time because the 8 minute timeline that is right now out there is inaccurate due to is no legit forensic data of time of death for every particular victim. We
Right.
have, we have time of death for each particular victim and also the modem and the way they die, either due to impact, either due to bleeding. uh, all that stuff will give you a perfect timeline that you could put together that constellation like Dr. Latina said, and that'll give you a pinpoint accuracy on how much time whoever did this took committing this crime. And then now we could adjust either if it was 8 hours delay or it was longer or it was shorter, you know.
Right, yeah. I believe the medical examiner will have a time of death in their report for it's just gagged and we don't get it right now. And we know about the cell phones, but I try to stay away from assuming they don't have basic like there's no reason they wouldn't have a time of death
Yeah,
by the
they
medical
already
examiner,
confirmed.
but they may do something stupid like in the Alex Murdaugh trial where they use their hand in the armpit to determine the time of death rather than the scientific method for determining the time of
Yeah,
death. I don't know what that is because I'm not a forensics person, but whatever the scientific method is not sticking your hand under somebody's armpit. So hopefully they have a good scale and a grading for the time of death.
the only reason
Get
why
rid
I
of the
mention
time of
it
death.
because it's already confirmed that they don't have no time of death. It's already confirmed. It
Confirmed
is
by who?
it's confirmed by Steve Goncalves.
I haven't seen that. If you can email me that, I would like to see it.
And if you are a seasoned veteran within forensics, as soon as you enter the home and see the crime scene, you know automatically this is a death penalty for whoever did this. So you have to treat this forensic situation accordingly to a future death penalty case due to the recent massacre, so gruesome and in the way it was. You know, what I mean,
This being their biggest case in 7 years, perhaps several of them are new, and I don't know. Maybe I'm kind of joking in a way, but like Super Troopers, not necessarily, never really had to take something like this serious. So taken by surprise, taken off guard, definitely not prepared. Nobody in that area seems to have been prepared. And how could you be? I mean, it's a small town. It's like what we were talking about yesterday. Pullman and Moscow are like their own little state or community. across the state lines. It's like their own world right there, and they've never had to deal with this.